السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Right. Today the goal is to get perspective on the question of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. So we will be briefly discussing the trying to give a brief outline or a brief overview about this issue, knowing that nowadays the Bitcoin issue is let's say trendy, and that it's necessary to have a little word about it from the Islamic perspective, because it's something linked to al-mu'amalat, and so we will need to get a brief outline about it. So the goal here is to get or give some details about how it works, and to understand how Islam gives us many insights about this trend and this issue, and also to if there are any questions about this point, to try to get them at the end. And now we will start, inshallah. So first thing, we have to know that cryptocurrencies is not quite a precise definition, because it also includes the digital currencies, and the digital currencies are briefly, they are the currencies that are used by the state instead of the paper dollars, instead of paper euros, etc., etc. So digital currency is not a precise definition. One would prefer cryptocurrency. So cryptocurrency is something more precise, but it's still not that precise. Why is this? Because if we say cryptocurrency, it includes tokens, and tokens are not a currency. So what is the common point first between the cryptocurrencies and the crypto assets? The common point is that they are based on the blockchain. The blockchain is a series of folders. These folders are registered in many places by many users, and so these folders, they register information, precise information. So why do we need these folders to be registered in many places at the same time? Because having the decentralized management of these folders gives us the opportunity of maintaining the information, even though there may be a blackout on a specific server, or there may be an issue with a specific server. Because we know when servers are centralized, as you may have heard about OVH, the recent issue that they had. So they had the burning in their servers, and many people who were hosting their informations in OVH servers, they lost this information. So let's get to the Bitcoin now, and try to discuss this most important cryptocurrency, that is the Bitcoin. Well, first thing, we have to know that the Bitcoin is the first cryptocurrency that is known in modern history, and it is really a revolution in terms of money and how money is viewed and how money is used. So the Bitcoin is really a revolution after the gold standard system of the year 1944. And so we do not have now only the dollars and the euros and the currencies of the states, nor not also gold and silver, but we have also digital currencies and cryptocurrencies. So when we talk about Bitcoin, we talk about cryptocurrency. So what should we know about the Bitcoin? First, the decision making and the decision power in the Bitcoin is linked to the majority. So when the majority of miners are the people who host the nodes that host effectively these information stored in the blockchain. So the decision power is linked to the majority. The Bitcoin that appeared in 2008 was made by, we do not know the identity of its inventor, but it's commonly known as Satoshi Nakamoto, but it's still not certain who he is. And he is allegedly supposed to own 1 million Bitcoins with the current price of $60,000+. This means he's now owning $60 billion. So third thing to know about the Bitcoin is that it's decentralized. So no one can modify the way Bitcoin works. And if we do not have 51% of people hosting the nodes, mining, that agree on a new process, for instance, the Bitcoin is, the blocks in every Bitcoin, every block is 8 megabytes. So if they want to modify this, they have to bring more than 50% of the miners. The Bitcoin uses the proof of work system, which means you have many equations to solve, and those who solve this equation, either it is a pool or an individual, get a reward in Bitcoins. So then so how do we get Bitcoins? We get them through mining, and this also depends on the crypto because it's different depending on if it's a proof of work or proof of stake or other processes that show that there was an effort to, or there is an eligibility to get the reward. It's impossible to have a double spending. For instance, if you have Bitcoins on your wallet and then you send some Bitcoins, and then you want to send these Bitcoins again, it's impossible because only one transaction will be accepted by all the nodes throughout the world. So how do we exchange Bitcoins? Is through wallets and platforms. Its monetary aspect is linked to the fact that it's now used worldwide. So the definition of money is something that is accepted. You can buy with it, you can store it, etc., etc. And so now the Bitcoin is effectively acquiring this position as a money. Then we have to know that nowadays the transfer costs of the Bitcoins is really high, because if you want to transfer some Bitcoins from a wallet to another wallet, it will take a lot of fees. Let's say maybe between $5 to $20, depends. Now, the Bitcoin is, of course, the most well-known cryptocurrency, and it's more than 50% of the value of all the crypto market. But there are other currencies we know as that are known as the altcoins or tokens. So what are these altcoins and what are these tokens? Well, the altcoins, the most famous altcoins, we have the Ethereum, we have the Litecoin, and we have many other altcoins. The difference between Ethereum and Bitcoin is that Ethereum is not only a cryptocurrency, it's also a system where a platform where anyone can set up a new cryptocurrency, and provided every transaction is backed by some gas, they call it gas, an exchange fee, then you can have your own crypto or own project based on the blockchain of Ethereum. So the difference also is that in the Ethereum, the inventor, who is Vitalik Buterin, and also the people who are responsible of the company now, they stayed a little bit in control. So this is what characterizes the Ethereum. And for instance, the Litecoin is not a structure where you can build a new blockchain-based project. It's exactly like Bitcoin. It's a system. It's a cryptocurrency, but it has lower transfer fees. Well, so now let's go to the third category, which is the tokens. Well, the tokens it's something, because there are so many categories. The token is something that is issued by someone, and it has it could be an asset, it could be currency, it could be a right, and also it could be nothing, because we know there are some IPOs, initial public offering, and ICO in the crypto world, initial coin offering, that say clearly that this token does not represent any rights, any asset, any value. So not any value, any rights, any asset, or anything tangible, any share in the company. So basically it's nothing, but the value depends, and it depends also on the speculation, right? So now, according to these things, what are the behaviors of the states? Well, the states had many reactions, but generally the states refused these innovations, except few states like let's say Japan, like Germany, and most of developed countries, industrially developed countries. They try to, let's say, they try to make some laws to control this activity, but they do not accept it as something officially, an official currency, except Japan, of course, and few other countries. So, but there is they are accepting it in practice, because if you own bitcoins, you pay taxes on the bitcoins, and they ask the platforms to be registered to avoid security loopholes. And there have been many platforms like NiceHash, like Cryptopia, like MTGOX before that have been hacked, and many people lost their assets. Then, what is the position? So now we saw that most states did not accept it. Now, what's the position of companies? Well, companies like Facebook, they saw there is an opportunity here, so they tried to launch their own cryptocurrency, like Libra. But the issue is that the project is not really succeeding as for the moment. There is the digital currency, cryptocurrency, the renminbi of the Chinese government, because the Chinese government opposes the Bitcoin, even though they host the main producers of miners. And then there is also the Telegram that has a project in crypto. So companies, it depends. Now we have Tesla that is adopting the Bitcoin project, and so on and so forth. So what are the challenges now for the Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies and tokens? The first challenge for the Bitcoin is the confrontation with the dollar. And the next threshold is when a country will start accumulating Bitcoins in its currency basket. When this will happen, this will be really a huge change. And also there is this challenge of the attack of 51, because if someone achieves gathering 51% of the miners, then they will have the opportunity to change the system. But this is extremely difficult nowadays, because the market value is exploding. Right, and also the main threshold will be when the utilization will not be speculation, but when it will be really for real usage, like buying, selling, and so on and so forth. Right. So now let's come to Islam. What's the position of the Sharia toward this new thing? Right, there is the position of majmaa al-fiqh al-Islami. Majmaa al-fiqh al-Islami, they gathered in 2019, and they did not come with a conclusion. So for the Bitcoin, they do not have now a precise conclusion. Right. The Majlis al-Fiqh in the US in 2020, they made a decision about it. The state councils of Sharia generally, they issued fatwas against the Bitcoin because, of course, they represent the state, they represent the central bank, and you know that Bitcoin main purpose was to challenge the central banks and the international monetary system after the 2008 crisis. The International Forum of Islamic Economy, المنتدى العالمي للاقتصاد الإسلامي, they issued a declaration of around 30 pages, and I consider this is the most clear, the clearest declaration, because it's quite precise and it has many details. Right. Now we have to know that the opinion of the central authorities, of course, will be against the Bitcoin, because the Bitcoin was meant to challenge these central authorities. So they are, in practice, they are in opposition. So what we have to see is will the Bitcoin cope with this challenge of becoming a money or not? Then, what's the position of the Sharia regarding the decentralized aspect of Bitcoin? Well, the Bitcoin emission is a complex process based on nodes and mining. So every time there is a nonce that is discovered for the equation, a new block is registered every 10 minutes. The miners are rewarded by the fees collected from the transactions between wallets and these blocks that generate Bitcoin. But in 2021, I think there will be no more Bitcoin generated by the blocks. So the only reward for the miners will be the fees, right? So now there is an issue, which is KYC and the problem of identity, because nowadays we have the techniques, we have the processes to be able to follow the spendings of the Bitcoins, but we are still not able to identify the personal identity of the people behind the transactions. So here, the Bitcoin is effectively coping with its main challenge, which is anonymity. That's why in the beginning, the Bitcoin was used for illegal transactions like drugs, like weapons, and so on and so forth. So now, what are the main positions and the main arguments of people who forbid the Bitcoin? And generally, these people are official authorities and official Sharia councils linked to central authorities of states. Well, the first argument they present is that Bitcoin is not something material, and so we cannot touch it or store it physically. So it could not be halal. Well, the question here is that most of the money today, 97% or around 95% of the money is scriptural money. So it does not exist also. Most money is only figures on bank accounts. So 95% of the money nowadays in the banks does not have physical existence. So the argument of forbidding Bitcoin based on the fact that it's not physical, it's virtual, is not acceptable, right? Otherwise, they should forbid the money that is not physical, and 95% of the monies of the central states, the money of the central states nowadays is not physical. Right. The second argument of the people who forbid the Bitcoin is that it's decentralized, and the money should be an emission by the imam, which is the ruler, so the central authorities, right? The point is that this is forbidding the exact thing we are trying to analyze from a Sharia point of view. So we know that in the famous sentence of Imam Malik, which is لو اتخذ الناس جلود البعير وكانت لها سكة وعين لكرهتها بالذهب نظرة, which means if the people they come to agree on the skin of the camels to be a money, he will not accept it to be sold for gold and not given immediately, because there is a rule in Islam that money should be exchanged immediately. So if you give dollars for euros, you have to give them and take them immediately. It's not accepted to leave time between the exchange. So that's why the forex generally is not acceptable, because it's a delay between the giving the money, between giving the currency and getting the other currency. Right. So in the opinion of Ibn Taymiyyah, everything that acquires the status of money in the urf, which is the general acceptance of people, will become a money. Then the decentralized argument is quite is not really solid as to forbid this practice. The third argument of people who forbid the Bitcoin is that it has no intrinsic value, right? So this means that physically the Bitcoin has no intrinsic value like gold or silver. But the question is, even the current money used by the monetary systems has no intrinsic value, which means the paper of the dollar or the numbers that are in the bank on your bank account, they have no physical value and no intrinsic value. So this is the case since the end of the gold standard system, decided by Nixon in 1971. So this argument is not that solid. Right. The fourth argument is that no one guarantees the value of the Bitcoin. And so there is no one to back the Bitcoin. The question is, in opposition to central banks that can guarantee the money, the question is, the central banks, in reality, they do not guarantee the money. They guarantee the fact that the money will be accepted. And so if there is a war, for instance, like what happened in Syria, if there is a war, the money can be decreased in value by 50%. Or for instance, in Zimbabwe, during the Mugabe presidency, the money lost 99% of its value. And also in current systems, the dollar and the pound, they lost 99% of their value since the end of the gold standard. So in reality, there is no guarantee of a physical value of the monies, even in the current monetary system. Right. The fifth argument against the Bitcoin from the Sharia perspective is its volatility. Right. This is, in fact, this is true, but there is also volatility in many monies, like the peso in Venezuela, or the Turkish lira that takes 50% and loses 50% in a very short period, like maybe 1 year or 2 years. But this is not an intrinsic fact linked to the Bitcoin. It's not an intrinsic fact linked to the lira, Turkish lira, or the Venezuelan peso. So this is extrinsic. This is not linked to the intrinsic components of the Bitcoin. Then this volatility, for instance, during the last years, there was a long period where the Bitcoin did not change in value. So this is extrinsic, and maybe it could be that one day the Bitcoin will not be that volatile. So this argument is also not that solid. The sixth argument against the Bitcoin is that it's not mal, it's not, I mean, it's not, it has no asset or money value. The question is, if someone puts, for instance, 50% of his assets in Bitcoin, for instance, he has $1 million and he puts 50% in Bitcoins, in practice, if he dies, he's asked to give this in inheritance. And also, he has to give zakat about this asset. So in reality, it has a value because it can be sold immediately in many markets. So it is sold and it is bought. So we cannot say that it is not mal. The seventh argument is that it is used for illegal activities. Bitcoin is used for illegal activities, right? We know that 98% of dollars, they have some drug leftovers on the paper dollars. So 98% of the dollars have transited through someone who buys or sells drugs. And the most used money nowadays for illegal activities is the dollar, is not the Bitcoin. So does this bring us to say dollar is an illegal money? Of course, not from this perspective, right? The eighth argument against the Bitcoin is Saddud Dara'i, because I mean, this may lead some people to buy it and to lose their money or their assets, or etc., etc. But this argument is not a central argument in the characteristics of the judgment. The ninth argument against the Bitcoin is that when there is a transaction on the platforms, we have to make sure there is qabd, which means someone buys Bitcoin for $1. Before reselling the Bitcoin, he has to make sure he really got the Bitcoin in his wallet, either it be the wallet on the platform or the wallet or his physical wallet in his phone or in his laptop. So this is an argument that is only orienting us to understand that there should be a real qabd in the Bitcoin transactions, right? The 10th argument is that well, it's not an argument, but it's the fact that nowadays we don't have a specific fatwa on which anyone is agreeing about the Bitcoin. Right, so now we talked about the Bitcoin, and what we have to know is that the Bitcoin, the only main issue linked to the system of the Bitcoin is the process of rewarding the miners with random block with random Bitcoins generated for their block and mining work. This was considered by some to be ju'ala, because in the ju'ala it's possible to say anyone who comes with a result first will have the reward. For instance, someone lost something, or someone wants an answer about a problem, and he can say anyone who brings me the answer first will have a reward. So this is a kind of ju'ala that has a random aspect. So this is accepted in the Sharia. The other, so this is about the gharar. And also, even though we say there is the gharar in there is gharar in the Bitcoin, which means not in the value, of course, there is gharar in the system of mining and rewarding Bitcoin miners, because it's uncertain who will get the reward after getting the solution for the equation, which is the mining process. We have to know that the dollar and the euro and all our monies in our current monetary system are based not on gharar, they are based on riba. How does this come? Well, they are based on riba because monies are generally the mass of money is extended by treasury bonds. What are the treasury bonds? Well, the treasury bonds are loans that are taken from the state toward the population. So, for instance, the state wants a loan of $1 million, so he issues monetary bonds, treasury bonds, and then the people can buy these bonds and then get an interest rate of, for instance, 2% or 3%. So now our current monetary system is a monetary system based on riba. If we put the fact that riba is way more haram in Islam than gharar, because riba is akbarul kaba'ir, and there is a war from God and His Prophet toward the people who hold and take riba? Well, if we take into account the fact that our monetary systems based on dollars and euros are based on riba, and that the Bitcoin is based on Gharar in its intrinsic system of reward, and that this Gharar may be halal if we take it as a ju'ala, which could be a random ju'ala based on some random aspects that is accepted by some scholars, then we have something that is certainly based on something that is highly haram, and in front of this we have something that is based on something that on a system that is maybe likely Gharar. So the result is clear. إذا وقع المؤمن بين ضررين اختار أهونهما, which means when we are in front of two bad things, we have to select the less, not the bad. We have to leave the worse. The problem here is, the main problem I have with the Bitcoin is that nowadays we could say that 99% of the Bitcoin, or maybe more than 90%, well, we can say the extreme majority of transactions with Bitcoin nowadays are pure speculation, which means people tend to buy, to sell, tend to buy with unlawful processes like margin buying, like rollovers, like taking interest to have the possibility of margin buying on these platforms. Maybe there is no qabd, which means they buy and they sell again the Bitcoin without qabd. And also it is used for speculation, and money was not invented to, was not meant to be used for speculation. So these are the main issues with the Bitcoin. That's why we do not advise anyone to enter this field, because even though we demonstrated that the haram arguments, most of them can be discussed, but the issue is that nowadays it is used for speculation, and many people lost their money. Some people lost the assets of their families. And so if Bitcoin was used for buying real stuff, like I buy a money because this money can be used in this and this and this place, and I can use this money to buy real stuff, and my intention is in the Bitcoin is really to use it as a money because the current money is not fulfilling my needs, then we can discuss. But the problem is that 99% of people who ask about Bitcoin nowadays want to become rich in a very short period with speculation, and they take huge risks. And this, of course, is not acceptable, because one of the maqasid al-sharia is hifdul mal, and while doing this, maybe we are putting high risk on our assets. So generally, we do not advise people to make this. And we have to know that people who enter the Bitcoin, they also tend to enter the other crypto assets. Why is this? Because once they enter the Bitcoin, they discover that the crypto assets like altcoins, like Ethereum, like Litecoin, like Dogecoin, and also the crypto coins, the tokens, they have more volatility. And as you know, speculation is highly appreciated for volatility is highly appreciated for people who do speculation. So at the end of the day, they start with Bitcoin and then they go to other crypto assets. What we should know is that for the other crypto assets, we cannot have the same status as the Bitcoin, because the Bitcoin now we can say it is a money because it is accepted in many countries. But we can't say the same thing for all the other crypto assets, because most of the cryptosphere is tokens, and these tokens in terms of number, not value. And these tokens generally, they represent nothing. Many ICOs, initial coin offerings, were pure scam. They were pure gharar. The tokens did not represent any value, any asset, any share, any service, and so it does not represent anything. And this is amwal al-nasi bil batil. So people tend to start negotiating these things without knowing their status, and this is highly, this could be really haram in many aspects, in the aspect of the intrinsic thing that is the token, and in the aspect of how it is transacted. Because, for instance, if we transact in assets, like physical assets, we have to move the asset before reselling it if it's not real estate. And so it's not recommended, and people have to be really careful about this. This was just to give you a brief highlights about what's the status of this cryptocurrency. So when we talk about the Bitcoin, we talk about one thing, and talking about the other cryptocurrencies is talking about another thing, and talking about the tokens is talking about the third thing, as I described it before and in the beginning of the video. And I hope this was useful for everyone. And please feel free to watch the video again in my profile. And thank you for following. And assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi. All right. Please give me a brief. Please give me a brief moment. Right.